How you doing, everybody? My name is Adam Wade. I'm originally from New Hampshire. When I was a freshman in high school, it was probably the worst year of my life socially. I was in the marching band, and I played the saxophone. I wasn't very good, but I practiced, and I practiced a lot. To the extent that my ears started cracking and started getting earaches and ear infections. So my parents brought me to the ear doctor, and we're sitting down, and he goes, "I got some bad news for you." And I go, "Am I gonna die?" He goes, "No, but you have very sensitive ears. If you keep blowing and playing the saxophone, you're gonna do damage to your ears and you won't be able to hear anymore. So you can't play the saxophone." So I remember driving in the car with my parents, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have to give up the band." And I told my parents defiantly, I'm like, "No, I'm not a quitter, I'm staying in the band." So I stayed in the band. Now, the band, in the hierarchy socially of high school, the marching band was ostracized from the rest of the school. And when I started now playing in the band without playing, I would just kind of go like this and smile. I started, they had a lot of pride, the band members, and God bless them. But they took out this frustration that they were losing their validity because I wasn't playing and I was making a mockery of the band. So we had the high school, and then the marching band, and then slowly I was ostracized from the marching band. I was alone. I was an island. And my parents, fortunately, I love them, they were worried about me. They didn't know what was going to happen. So my father made a few phone calls. It was the only sign of nepotism I was fortunate to have. I got a job as a busboy at a local Greek restaurant, the Puritan Back Room. And it was awesome because I was able to reinvent myself because I was in a community of people that didn't know about me in high school. And they were a lot older, and I found out I could communicate and get along better with people at least 5 years older than me. And basically my job was just to clear the tables. That's it. But I upped it a notch. I would get ice for the bartenders. There was a full female wait staff. I would always make them desserts. And after a while, I kind of became like the patron saint there. They didn't have an employee of the month, but if they did, I would have got it a few times, you know. Yeah. And I never had a nickname, but for that period of my life, I had a nickname now. I had some bad nicknames, but this one, I was called Busy because I always looked busy. It made me feel good. So there was a hostess that had just graduated from my high school, and her name was Susie. It was the summertime I was working there, and I was in love with her. She was my first love. She had poofy blonde hair, kind of like Whitney Houston, circa I Want to Dance with Somebody. She had flower dresses, and she smelled like oranges. And she was just very nice to me. I'd work hard, people say good job and stuff, but she'd come up to me and she'd squeeze me and go, "Great job." And woman never touched me besides my grandmother, my aunt, and my mother. So in puberty, this was nice. I enjoyed this. I was awkward. I didn't know what to do, but it was at the moment, but it was great, and I appreciated it. Now, Susie, one thing about her is she had a front tooth that was slightly green. When she was in junior high, she was at a pool party. She was just having a good time. She was being a kid, and she fell off the diving board and slammed right on her face. And they fixed her up. She looks the same, except the tooth. And they had bleached it. They did all this stuff, but it was still a hint of green. And all the other hostesses and stuff, they would make fun of her behind her back and stuff. But to me, it wasn't an imperfection. This made her perfect to me. Because we had a connection. Susie had a boyfriend, and his name was Terry. He was kind of a prick. He had a Kawasaki motorcycle, and he would pick her up every night by the trash compactor outside, and she'd be waiting for him, smoking her cool menthol cigarettes. And he was in his mid-20s. I don't want to be too crude, but he was a wannabe bookie, and he worked at his parents' convenience store. And he was in a George Thorogood cover band called the Bad to the Bones. And he was George Thorogood. So I remember one night when I would always time it perfectly, like while she'd wait for him, she'd be smoking, and I'd throw the garbage in. She said, you know, Adam, you know, I love Terry. And I go, oh, that's nice. And she's like, you know, he looks just like George Thorogood. I go, yeah, he does. You know, and she goes, but he's terrible at the guitar. Not like, he's just very bad at the guitar. And he told me about that, and he's really insecure about that. And I'm like, okay, where is this going? And she goes, it's just, I'm so attracted to vulnerability. And when she said that, I thought my head was going to explode, because at that moment in my life, I had a lot of vulnerabilities. Now, the people at the Puritan back room were very nice. They got me the job, but they were very cheap. And whenever we wanted to eat food and stuff like that, they'd always charge us. So what I would do is I would sneak hot dogs and chicken tenders into the bathroom, and that's my way of, I was in a semi-rebellious phase. That was my way of sticking it to the man. But it was all the ice cream you could eat. And I was a little chubby, so what I would do is I'd have like 5 or 6 like milkshake, like fraps, like per shift. And I'm lactose intolerant now. I don't know why. But again, it made me feel good. And my magnum opus was this thing called the Andes Mint Milkshake. If you've ever had like an Andes Mint, it was just like that in the sense, I would take 2 scoops of mint chocolate chip ice cream and put like a ladle of hot fudge and then with the milk, and then I would blend it. And when you would sip it, I don't have this copyright. When you sip it, the hot fudge with the chocolate, it would like melt in your mouth, and it was unbelievable. So I was on my 3rd of the night, and I was sucking it down, and Susie came over, and I go, hey, Susie, how you doing? She's like, what are you? And I explained it to her, and she's like, that sounds delicious. Can I have a sip? Now, growing up, I was very germophobic. I did not like sharing my stuff. And this is why, like, you know, I'd be eating a little piece of steak, and my mother would be like, let me have, I go, have it. I want mine, you have yours, come on, Ma. And then, like, my Aunt Ariti would be like, let me have a sip of your Coke. I'm like, just have it, take it. Like, I want mine, and you have yours. But when Susie asked, things changed. And I took it, and I go, absolutely, have a sip, have a sip. So Susie took a sip, she loved it, and she gave it back to me, and I just remember like her purple lipstick around the white straw. And I was just shaking, and I thought to myself, walk away now, please, walk away. So as she walked away, I put it right to my mouth, and I took a sip, and it was the closest I had come to kissing a girl, and it was awesome, it was awesome. I know it doesn't count, but for a while, in my mind, it did. So I started making sure our schedules were the same. I'd always switch, and I was hoping no one would really know. And I would always manage to be outside. Would she be waiting for Terry smoking, and I'd be doing the garbage. And we started having these long conversations. She did most of the talking, and she would tell me, at the end of the summer, I'm going to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I don't know what I want to do. I'd like to study penguins in the North Pole, and I was smart enough to know the penguins are in the South Pole, but I'm not going to make, come on, hey, good, you follow your dreams. And she wanted to maybe perhaps go into the CIA, but she wasn't sure exactly what it was. She had seen Silence of the Lambs. So I'm not a poet, and I don't write poetry, but for her, I was moved, and I started to write this poem. And I worked on it, and I had it. And for that last month before she left, I'd keep it in my back pocket, and there were so many times I wanted to give it to her. But I finally found like a place in my life where people accepted me. I reinvented myself into Busy, the hard worker, and I didn't want to ruin it. And I was just afraid if I gave her the poem and she laughed, or she told everybody, then I'd be back to where I was in high school. But then it was her last night, and it was a do or die situation for me. And whenever I get very nervous, like tonight, I go into the bathroom and I do the Rocky theme song in my head. And I looked in the mirror at myself, and I don't like eye contact, but I looked and I go, you're gonna do it, get out there. And I scared myself, and I ran out. And I go, Susie, I wrote a poem. I want you to read it. And this is the actual poem. And I didn't look at her when I read it because I was very scared and I was shaking. So, Susie at Work by Adam Evangelist Busy Wade I. Susie at work, do the locomotion. Here's your milkshake, the Wade Love Potion. It's mint chocolate chip ice cream with hot fudge and milk. I love your flower dresses. Are they cotton or silk? I got a 10-speed bike. Yeah, I'm the motor. Born to be wild. I'm a 15-year-old Hell's Angel. And I would ride my bike thinking no one understood what I was trying to go for. You see people at the restaurant, you're the hostess with the mostest. I may clean off the tables, but I'm a rebel, like James Dean. It was my James Dean phase. My Aunt Arita had gotten me a red Barracuda jacket, so when I would ride to work, I'd have like this pompadour sort of thing with Vaseline. Nobody knew what I was going for. Nobody. It was just like, it's like 100 degrees and he's got like grease and it was just awful. This was our inside joke that we talked about with her. Cliff the dishwasher can crap his pants again, but you smell just the opposite of him. Everybody knew about Cliff. He did it all the time, you know. I could poke fun. He wasn't nice to me. I can't smoke because I have baby lungs. I'm asthmatic. But you look sexy when you do it outside while I empty the garbage into the trash compactor. Do you remember when you told me you had 14 Cabbage Patch dolls? I got a big heart for you, even though my lungs are small. I love you, Susie. You are my carpe diem. I was taking Latin at the time, but not excelling in it. Busy works hard. So that was the poem, and when I was done, I looked up at her finally, and I saw that she had tears in her eyes. And she came over to me and she hugged me like really hard. And I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but like I had never hugged anyone besides my mother, my grandmother, my aunt. So I just kind of gave her like a dead fish. I just like hold her, you know. And she said, I hope you know how special you are. And then Terry showed up, cock blocked me. She got on the motorcycle and waved and drove off. The last duty of the night for me after the trash was I'd get a Maxwell House coffee tin and I'd have to go around the parking lot and get 50 cigarette stubs. And once I got those, I could leave. So I was walking around the parking lot and I was crying, I was sobbing, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not good at a lot of things, but feeling bad for myself, I'm terrific. And I'm crying and I'm picking these up and then I stop and I said, wait a minute. Think about it. You showed the girl, first girl you ever loved, like you, okay? And she was moved. Now things aren't good right now. But maybe next year, maybe in 10 years, maybe in 15 years down the road, you're gonna be all right. And it was the first time in my life, like I had hope in myself, and I believed in me, that I had potential. Thanks.